Oh, here he is. The Nick Larkey impersonation had even got its ass in to live. I reckon about 30 blokes said to me, how good. That's the funniest I've ever
Still getting it
heard.
seen to me last night by people, have you seen this?
Seen it, so-
Yes, I have seen this.
And heard it.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
Now,
You liked it a lot more
Rory
than others,
Sloane.
Jim. Yeah, Rory Sloane, one of the favourites on Triple M. I think you gave him the profile, Jim, when you bumped into his mad mates.
Well, if that was
in the
game
early-
one.
I think it was
Remember
game one, I
they were
reckon
all
it was.
hanging over the fence.
From Upway Tacoma.
Upway Tacoma.
Well done.
Yep.
And he spoke today. Unfortunately for him, the second problem he had with that serious eye issue, Bill, which raised its head just before the season started again, has meant that he's been forced to retire because life is more important than another game of footy.
Yep.
It is.
And he got his head around that in recent weeks and announced it today and then spoke quite emotionally.
I mean, I came in, Tex was already here, a year under his belt. I can't even look at him when I'm going to say this, but I don't know, and there's a few others as well. You got Smitty, Laddie. There's a lot of us that experienced so much over the past 16 odd years in this footy club that I don't think many people would have experienced in any other industry. We've lost people. We've had extreme highs, some pretty tough lows. We've really been through it all. But what I'm proud of is if we stuck together and we stuck true to who we are. And I'm pretty proud of that.
No, good boy. One of the real good boys. Rory
Tough.
Sloane.
You know what it hurt?
Yeah, I mean,
what
they've
would
been
hurt
through
him, Jim, is his body's right. It's just his eye. So
Yeah.
his body's right. It's going okay.
Well, yeah, but his body hasn't been right all for the last 2 or 3 years.
He had a
He's
knee prior to
yeah,
the,
he's
the
had-
eye, or around the eye.
But he's up and
injury.
going now.
Yeah, he had done a
Yes.
pre-season. He wanted to have one
Yeah.
more crack at it because they felt they were then tracking well, and they might still, get back into the 8 after their slow start. But unfortunately, it's just not part of it. And I liked his referencing to the experiencing of the highs and equally the
Yep.
lows, and obviously the tragedy that was
Yes,
part of his
exactly.
time at the club and the way
Enormous
that he's,
amount to be proud of, Damo.
Yeah.
He has been a star on and off the field. He's
He
always
has.
carried himself with great class
Yeah.
and dignity, and,
And even just-
we love Rosa.
Yeah, and even hearing him just articulate a career in that moment as he did just then, and obviously if people want the extended version of that, they can go online to get it.
Yep.
Tribunal, we got another one. It just keeps happening. The MRO has a finding, and then we'll flush it through the
Jeez,
system, and we'll
bloody
see what
harsh.
happens. And this one is the Jack Higgins tackle on Alir. We spoke about it at length on Saturday.
3 matches is way too.
Yeah, I think we all had that view, didn't we? The
Yeah,
three
we
of
did.
us. You were strong on it at the time, Jim.
Well, but this is what we always say, Purple. We're so result-driven. So I said to people who thought Toby Green should have been cleared to
Yep.
play,
Yep.
what if the bloke? What if old mate Boyd was knocked out?
Yeah.
And it would have. Everyone would have gone. Well, then it's got to be a month.
Had to be 2 or 3.
So it's
yeah.
only the result that
Yeah.
drives whether people think. So if Alir gets bounces up and plays on,
Sanders.
then but because he was
Chandelier.
concussed, and we're very cognizant of the issue with concussion.
We are.
So, but
I know.
there's no way he gets 3 if the player's not concussed.
I agree. I agree.
In fact,
And
he
then-
probably gets fined.
What was he supposed to do?
Well, we said that.
I know, you said that.
I
yeah.
don't
and
know.
I hadn't seen it, so I saw it the other.
Yeah.
He's ran through him.
Yeah, he's trying to run through him as a little man.
So what's he supposed to? And plus, he was in a kicking action,
Yep.
so he had no strength.
I'm tiring, though, of the tribunal needing to tell us what is and isn't right. I just think the game needs to, but that's another conversation from the
Yeah.
day. Cody Waitman, we saw him have another issue where his elbow had got dislocated again in that game, and now what they are going to do is seek to fix it to a point, and he'll miss 6 weeks or thereabouts.
What's that, surgery?
Surgery, yeah, or procedure at least, yeah, because he had been playing with it, Bill, as you saw, with the cast around it, and then he just absolutely hit the soft spot on it, and you felt for him, because I can't even imagine how
Oh, yeah.
sore that would be.
No, that wouldn't be
Positives, Nat Fyfe played a game
Natalie.
that took us back to almost Brownlow medal form, didn't he, with what he did against the Western Bulldogs, and he's just now, I think, on the back of that, worked out how he fits into this midfield that has Sarong and Brayshaw as the leaders of it at the moment, and rightly so. But there's still a place for someone who's as big as he is and has still got some high-end talent. Now, it's not the Brownlow medal ×2 winning talent, but it's still high-end, isn't it, Jim?
Yep.
And it's going to be crucial to what they're about. I thought they were unlucky in 2 of their past 3 losses. They had those free kicks against them against Carlton, or those issues against Carlton. We're in front of Port Adelaide with 3 or 4 minutes to play, lost the last 2
Terrible
goals of
against
the
West
game.
Coast.
Terrible against West Coast. But their response against the Western Bulldogs was
that
really,
was
really good. Jeremy Cameron, I reckon it's been 3 years he's been the best player in the comp, and I think he's now just putting a gap on whoever the next best is with what he's doing this year. It's
Well,
just
I asked him the other night on Talking Footy, this is the best footy I've ever seen you play. I've never seen you play better than you are at the moment. He looks
Did he agree?
$1 million.
He just
agree?
runs.
He does whatever he wants.
Go down back,
He
in the midfield?
does, but his laconic nature, I think, makes you think he just does that. But he's still working within the system, isn't he? And
you would have to ask
he's
Chris
part
Scott.
of the
I don't know
system.
If you ask Joel, he says he does whatever he wants.
I think he just does what he wants.
Well, he goes and has his recovery in his muddy dam with the fish
Yeah,
and
with the,
yabbies,
yabbies.
as you,
Yep,
as
he
you
does.
said. But I love what he's doing, the 5 goals he kicked, and he needed to probably kick that Silla late, Bill. He'd already done the hard yards, and then the late comeback from
Kicked
Carlton.
3 goals in 3 minutes, Carlton. Where's
I
that
think it
come
was
from?
4 and 4, wasn't it? Or yeah.
3 and 3, Damien. I
No,
was
I
there.
think it was
You were
more
in
than 3.
bed after your Saturday rub. You would have been. Isaac Heeney again.
Yeah, 3 goals in his performance yesterday against Hawthorn. He's just the cleanest user of a football, isn't he? And he just it was a pretty bad game, that, on a number of fronts. We'll touch on the negative component with Hawthorn in the next segment through the words of Sam Mitchell. But he just elevated himself, didn't he, with his class?
Yep.
And he's done it.
And gonna win
We've
the
talked
Brownlow.
about him on the recovery session on this show on the Monday for 7 occasions.
Yep.
Including this one,
Yeah.
this week. I reckon he's got votes again out of that game, which will mean he's got
Purple,
votes.
right now, he's 15 votes ahead of the next player in the Brownlow for me.
15?
15.
No, in the
That's
Brownlow.
how- Brownlow votes, he's 15 ahead of the next
Hang
player.
on, so
only gets
He's
He's
on
got
25,
votes.
and the other bloke's on 10.
we can't have
Well, he's
25.
only
do we? We've only
played
played 7
care,
games.
Don't care.
How's he got
15 votes
25?
clear.
21.
15. He wins it with his legs,
The
both
co-
legs in the air.
No, well, I don't
Like
know.
he's in stirrups.
How do you, yeah.
That's how he wins
Jim,
it.
there's only 7 games.
Just
Yes.
watch
7
this
times
space,
3
and
is
I'm going to replay
21.
this. And when it happens, you'll have to say, Jim, you were right.
This is after
Keep
round
going,
7, by the way.
Yeah, just time code.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going, Purple.
Long time ago, but we do positives here. We go back to Wednesday night. Maxi Gunn has played
Wednesday
5
Mm.
blinders out of the 7 that Melbourne has played. The first game was bad for him, and he had another bad one 2 weeks ago, but he's responded each time, and I thought he was a clear best of field again, so
Yep.
big tick for him. And he's just keeping Melbourne rolling.
Star of the comp.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
5-time or 6-time All Australian.
6,
I think he's 6.
6,
Yeah.
and he
He's
has already
walking
got
into this team
the
too.
one arm
Yeah.
through the jacket again for an All Australian
I
this
see
year.
you
You like what I did there, Bill?
I
Or at
like
least now what do they put on the badge on the chest panel? They just put the year.
Yeah,
they've
just
got
keep- they
they've
put-
got the 2
so
for
one
the
jacket.
2024 year on it already.
All
So
right,
for
maybe
Maxi,
2 and 0, maybe.
maybe 20. Yeah, halfway there.
Bombers and
I know-
Magpies. Who won that?
No, I'm going the Bombers.
Yeah, I
and
reckon the Bombers won.
I love what Merritt did, and I'm more than happy for him to get the Anzac Day
So
medal
am
because he
I.
was outstanding. But I thought
Who did you think?
McGrath was the best player afield in that game, and I thought
Andy McGrath.
I'm giving him the
McGrath. Very
positive
good
out of
season.
the out of the weekend on that particular occasion.
Lucky you went, vote.
I'm loving what I thought he was best on ground.
Voting.
Green, Taylor, Canelio out of the GWS team, it just means that other players who would normally have to just form behind them in an orderly queue with respect and authority and the way a hierarchy works, they're just getting more time. And I'm referring to Finn Callahan as one of
Yes.
those people. And he's just hitting his straps beautifully, isn't he? And benefited. And they did
Size.
number on the
Jeez,
Brisbane
he's a
Lions.
big bastard.
Where's Sam Taylor? I need to know I need to punt this week. Oh, sorry, I mean the.
I think he'll be back, Bill. There was
What was that sentence?
I don't know. Well, Sydney play the Giants, and if he's in, I'm
For your
thinking-
tips.
Yeah, for
Tips.
tips.
Yeah,
That's
tips.
it.
for
Not
tips,
punting.
not punt. I'm not
Tips.
sure you can punt, but their talk is, and the club is really confident they'll get all 3 players back. Obviously, Green with the suspension that he copped, but Taylor now that he's missed 2 matches with concussion protocols, and there's hope that Canelio with his knee is ready to go again. And if it's not too far away. So, quick reference to Jake Rogers for his game for Gold Coast against West Coast yesterday. Another one of
Yes,
those
very good.
young academy kids that are just now on a turntable. They just spit them out, and they're going to be there for years. But it was a great performance for him. Equally, Noah Anderson. Butters was great, wasn't he, Bill, for Port against St Kilda. And
Zach.
just a quick reference before we go to the break. Tex Walker for his game, his unselfish game for Adelaide
He's a good
against
player.
North Melbourne down there in Hobart.
Just one more positive, and we talk about players and how good they're going. Chris Scott is on fire in the coach's box. He
Isn't he?
is, and his twin brother's going all right too, by the way.
They're both
At the
flying.
bo- They are flying. So
Yeah.
well done to
He's
Scotty.
just tapped in with something at the catch
He
at the moment
has.
that people have not yet worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So they are flying, Bill. Who isn't flying is his counterpart at the Brisbane Lions in Chris Fagan.
What
and
is
the
going
entire
on there,
club.
Damo? I watch him now, and he seems to get a bit more angrier. He just looks like, I don't know, it's just something missing there.
No, I'm with you,
Prof,
Bill. And,
folks.
and 7 rounds is enough now to have a look at it and have a deeper dive into what's going on. And I think it's fair to say they just have not been able to overcome what was a tough toil for 5 years, getting so close. And last year was the closest they got with losing a grand final by 4 points. And if you then want to throw the 5 years in as a collective, Bill, there were they were a kick short of reaching a prelim final for 5 years. Now, they fell short on 2 of those 5 years, but they were only a kick short from in a semi-final to make it to a prelim.
But
so
we all had them in the top 4,
we
Damien.
absolutely
Their
did.
midfield's
Yeah.
good, their forward line's good, their back line's okay. So,
but they're 2-5 now, and
They
if you
are.
do want to look at what is on offer for their teams each week, they don't bat as deep as some teams when it's all said and done. I mean, I don't want to individualise now, but they're not batting deep, and they're certainly not getting much out of those guys. And then you sort of ponder the question yourself: who's going to help them blast out? And there's always been doubts on Danaher and Hipwood as a forward line, and Lockie Neal. I think clubs have worked him out now, and he's also been around for a long time.
Yes.
He's banged up, and he's
He
getting
is.
hit and tagged and shut out, and he's hard to work through.
Suns,
McCluggage,
Crows, Richmond, they've got a gettable couple of games coming up.
yeah, and that's the hope, Jim, isn't it? And if you look at the 4 of the games they've got coming up, West Coast is part of that too. I think
Yeah,
at the
that
end of
might be
it,
the 4th, yep.
they could well come out of it with a 6-5
Hawks
scoreline,
is the
but or
fourth
at least a 5-6 scoreline, which will give them some hope. But what I do think I've seen enough to know now is that even if they just get out with how they've been trying to play, it won't be any good for them come the proper end of the season. I think they've need to make changes. He made some tough changes last year, about halfway through, when he dropped Daniel Rich and Jack Gunston from a game. I'm talking about Chris Fagan. He hated doing it because he's such a loyal person.
Yep.
He's going to need to do something of that nature, be it just a rev up in the box. So they've got a problem. Let's go to Hawthorn and take a listen to what Sam Mitchell said. Now, another loss happened yesterday. They're 1 win, 6 losses. The one win was against North Melbourne. I don't even think that should count this year. But Sam Mitchell had this to say after the Swans loss on Sunday.
I mean, the margin is worse than the Gold Coast game, but I think I looked at today's game. If you watched it without a scoreboard, you would have said the Brown and Gold boys are having a crack. They're really putting a lot of pressure on the opposition.
Don't know what that means because we do watch it with a scoreboard, and the last time I was associated with sport without a scoreboard, it's underage sport, and I just think he's in a bit of a zone now where he doesn't have the answers. It's a bit like Chris Fagan, and while it's been 3 years under his watch, I don't see an improvement, Jim. And while others will look at the fact they've made some tough calls, and maybe it's just setting up for what is in the future, but I'm not seeing it this year. And they won 7 matches last year, 8 the previous year, and there's not a lot of talent on that list, particularly when there's no great forward line.
That's a weird sentence when you lose by 11 goals.
And I tell you
Or
what, he
more.
gave it to
76 points.
76
Grimshaw there.
Yeah, goals.
Was that quarter time when he walked on? And he gave it to Grimshaw.
it was.
Barreled
Yeah,
him.
He did. Yep.
And a couple other bad news.
Yeah, just with Hawthorn, Sam Butler, we knew in the VFL had injured his leg. He's now going to miss the season with that break. And Mabior Chol, who was their one forward, although they didn't play well. No one played really well yesterday. But filling in for Mitch Lewis, covering for Mitch Lewis's absence, he's been offered a 1-match ban for striking Errol Gordon during that particular game. So it's not unfolding well for them. Western Bulldogs, Jim, 3-4, lost to
Hard to work out
Fremantle.
because
Bloody
the best
hard.
is really good.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they will play in a way that
Yep.
doesn't match up with that at all.
It didn't, and they grounded out. It was only late that the Dockers, I suppose, confirmed the win, and they were without Jamari Ugle-Hagan, and they lost Tom Liberatore just before the game. But their midfield just was not up to what the Fremantle team subjected
And
them
they've got
to.
to win that game if they're feeding them.
That's a really good point, Bill.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Normally are.
Carlton,
I don't think it is. I
5
think
and-
Fremantle at home are tough to beat.
No, but if Dogs
If
are
the
gonna
Dogs
be any
wanna
good,
make something of
it's
their
gonna
season.
be out of Freo and Western Bulldogs to get in the 8.
I still think it's a very tough road trip, that. So not many teams beat
Libba are laid out
Freo,
too,
but-
wasn't he? Yeah.
yeah,
Said
it just
Oh.
said that. Rather
I was too busy writing notes for you.
Yes.
5-2 Carlton lost to GWS in round 6, and then Geelong on the weekend. And look, you could have taken some positives out of it. Michael Voss wasn't going down that path, just refused to. I like the attitude. Their other loss came to Adelaide by 2 points back in round 5. So they're just not getting on a roll at the moment.
They got 6 or 7 out from their prelim side last
Yeah,
year. So
they
they've got
do.
some good players
They
out.
do. And most of those are soft tissue too, which is an issue for them. But
Collingwood, big game Friday night.
it's a
Can't
massive
wait.
game.
That's a huge
yeah.
game.
Just before we have a look at what is coming up on round 8 matches, just the last 3 weeks of Sundays. These are the matchups, Bill. There've only been 2 matches on each of the last 3 weeks. Hawthorn, Sydney, West Coast, Gold Coast.
Yuck,
That was yesterday.
yeah.
Week before, North and Hawthorn,
Yuck.
Sydney, Gold Coast.
Oh, come on.
And then the
AFL,
week
dropped
before
off.
that, Geelong and North and West Coast and Richmond. It's a day that they have
Well,
not
hopefully now
scheduled
we're
well.
back to 9 games and no bowls.
And no Wednesday matches and no.
we might
yeah.
get
Third on the Coleman medal. I'll give you the first two. Kerno and Jesse Hogan. Who's third?
Cameron.
The J Train.
Jake Waterman. Good effort. Good effort. Kicked another 4. He's kicked 21 for the year.
Yeah, and 15 in the past 3.
Yeah. And what about these games? So Adelaide, Port Adelaide Thursday
I love this
night.
round of footy, Bill.
Yes.
So, yeah, showdown.
Yep.
Showdown Thursday.
Friday night, Carlton, Collingwood.
Yep.
There'll be 90,000.
Magnificent. There'll be 90 plus.
And then Sydney Giants on
Battle of the
Saturday.
going to be huge.
Melbourne Geelong
Yes.
Saturday night.
1v4.
Yep. And then Brisbane and the Gold Coast. That's a good game.
Big game.
At the Gabba.
Rivalry round.
It is.
It almost is.
It really is.
Good.
Yep.
All right.
good
I like
round
it,
of footy.
Purple.
Yeah.
Anything
Good
else?
seeing you.
Anything
Likewise,
else?
Stu.
What did you do after the rub? Just as a matter of
No,
interest.
you made me feel tired by saying
Did you
I
go
looked
home
tired.
and have a nap?
No, I went home, had a few bets, and lost again as always. I had
back
something
to
on your
Elphinstone?
Elphinstone, but
good.
I missed the quaddie as always. And
This is Fat having a go, by the way, at Damo for, in Fat's words, not appearing on Saturday in good enough condition on the podcast.
fine.
This is Fat who does that every Saturday of the year.
No appearance, Your Worship.
Turns up.
No appearance. I looked over a couple of times. His
that is
goggles are all fogged up.
That is not true.
They're all fogged up and he's sound asleep. I had to wake him up.
I had a few drinks with Jim the night before.
Yeah, Jim doesn't
I
drink.
was-
He was okay.
He's jumping around. Good to see you, Purple.
See you guys.
Says Bill has got a full strength Coke
I
right
know,
now
just to
on a
recover.
Monday. You can hear Damo as part of the it's midweek rub.